here today in the Let's Make Food from Food kitchen. I've got a pretty quick recipe today for breakfast sausage. What makes it breakfast sausage? Why isn't it an Italian sausage? Let me tell you, the difference between breakfast sausage and Italian sausage: fennel and some other seasonings, basically. Sausage has a long history as a way of preserving meats. The butchers got creative. They had all these scraps, but waste was not a thing. So they would grind up all those organs and scraps from things they were cutting and scrape the bones, and all of that would go together and they grind it up. Sausage refers basically to a ground meat. A sausage, just adding the letter A, sausage, is usually in a casing, and that used to be intestines. Sometimes it still is. That's a natural casing. So that's kind of a little history on sausage for you. So what I have here for our recipe is 1 pound of ground pork. Now, one thing I want to mention, if you go to the grocery store and get your ground pork, look at the label. Sometimes they put things in it, like salt. Aren't you buying just meat? Maybe you're not. Check the label and see. Your butcher probably isn't adding salt to it. So if you go to a local butcher, ask him, hey, do you put salt in your meats? He'll tell you yes or no. But I mention that because if you're going to add salt, be aware that if you can't find anything that doesn't have salt in it, that you might want to reduce the amount of salt that you add. So my 1 pound of ground pork, I have some ground pepper, and this I just freshly cracked it in there. And then I have, this is marjoram, and if you don't have marjoram, you can use oregano. So that's a little switch tip you can use. Pinch of cloves. I'm just dumping all this in. This is salt. I'm going to add a little less in there. Seems like a lot. Crushed red pepper. Now, this is optional. I don't particularly care for super spicy food, but in the breakfast sausage, if I'm making like a biscuits and gravy, which is what I'm about to make for you here in the next episode, this is gonna be toned down some with all the gravy stuff. So I'm gonna add a little bit. How much you use is entirely up to you. And then this is sage. So those are the simple ingredients that you need to make your pork sausage. And then you're just gonna take your hands and mix it up. And you're gonna do this until you can't see any clumps of seasoning. You want it to be well blended. If you can do this the day before and just put it in some plastic wrap or cover your bowl really well and let the seasonings really just sit there and meld together into the meat, it's going to taste even better. So if you have the time to do that, go for it. If you don't, it's okay. You could just cook it right when you're done making it. This is the alternative to buying it from the store. This is one of those things where if you just turn over the package and see what's in it, you might be surprised how much they put in to your pork sausage when really it doesn't need to be this. It doesn't need the sugar. And yes, sometimes a nice piece of maple sausage is good, but it doesn't have to be all the time. Okay, so this is ready. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a smaller bowl. I'm going to cover it up. I'm going to let it sit in the fridge for a while before I cook it. I hope you found today's episode helpful. From my kitchen to yours, let's make food from food.
That's one boy.